Welcome to this episode of our virtual series entitled Disappointments from Setback to Comeback. Today's topic is one that so many of us can relate to. We're going to be talking about when life falls apart and dealing with unexpected disappointments. That's why I'm so excited and beyond honored to have with us today our guest, Miss Janet Baddol. Janet isn't just a mother. She isn't just a mentor, a leader, but she is a woman of God. And she has walked through seasons of unexpected disappointments and have come out with wisdom, faith, and a testimony to encourage everyone listening today. Janet, welcome to the show. Let's get started here. Um, as you share with us your testimony about what God has done for you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a privilege to be here.
No, I'm grateful to have you, and I'm looking forward to the testimony that you're going to share, and I know that it's going to be a powerful testimony that will help those who are listening today. So at this moment, I'm turning it over to you, and it's all yours.
Thank you. Thank you. So, a few years ago, I remember vividly, I was at work and I had just presented on the topic that I was there to present in a very large meeting. And immediately after I presented, the head of our department started to ask me some very grueling questions. And that day was my very first day that I had a run in with anxiety. I didn't know if I labeled it at first as to what it was, but weeks later, I remember being in my house, in my room one day, and I didn't feel well. I couldn't explain how I was feeling, but I remember I had to get to the emergency room. I needed a doctor to actually see me and to help me. I didn't want to drive that day. I literally called an Uber. And my daughter asked, Mom, what's wrong? And I said, I don't know, but I'm going to the emergency room. She said, I'll take you. And I said, no. I literally did not want to be around anyone. I wanted to be alone. So I got to the ER, and at check in, I told the receptionist that I had a bad headache, right? And she immediately sent me over to the COVID trailer. I think it was during the COVID season. So you mentioned headache, anything they think it's COVID. And I said to her, it's not COVID. And she said, but you have to go and get tested for COVID. And I'm like, ma'am, this is not COVID. There's something else going on. She said, it's protocol. You have to go and get tested. And as I walked over to the COVID trailer, which was not too far, it literally seemed like the distance was more than a mile. And when I got to the trailer, the doctor that was there looked at me and said, this is not COVID. Please go back and tell the receptionist that you need to see the doctor. Anyhow, I went back and I was so frustrated because I no one knows your body more better than you do, right? And I knew I was not having any COVID symptoms. My head was hurting for sure, but I know something else was going on. And as I waited to see the doctor, or even to be triaged, I remember it might have been minutes, maybe 30 minutes, but to me, it felt like I was there for a lifetime. It seemed like hours. And I got up to leave and to go back home, but I didn't drive. So I had to wait for an Uber. And unfortunately, they could not locate any Ubers to take me back home. And I sat outside. I remember by this time it was night and the cool air, just came and went a lot up on my face, and I sat there A bit sad, frustrated for sure. And then my phone rang. The nurse called to ask where I was, and I told her. And she said, "Come inside. The doctor is ready to see you." So I went and she checked my vitals. She asked me what was wrong. Again, I could not explain. I know I had a headache, but there's more going on in my body. And shortly after she left the room, the doctor came in. The doctor asked a few questions. I answered. And then he said, "I'm going to give you some medicine." The nurse came back, gave me three small pills. And within 10 minutes, I felt like my old self again. I felt much better. And the doctor came back and told me that I was having a bad anxiety attack. And that's when I actually was able to put a name to what I was feeling. The feeling was not great at all. And I'm so glad that I listened to myself and went to see the doctor. And they gave me some of those small pills to take home. But they also cautioned me about reliance on those pills. So I had to make sure I figure out how was I going to cope with this new diagnosis. I didn't have an anxiety attack every day. No, that's not what happened. But it was real. There were some times as I was going through different challenges, I could feel that anxiety was coming on. I had to cope. I don't like taking medicines. No, I don't. I am the doctor's most challenging patient when it comes to medicine. So I really had to figure out how to cope so that I'm not dependent upon these small little pills that seem like they would take care of everything and also put me to sleep. And over the days, the weeks, and the months following, I tried to figure out how am I gonna really get ahead without a dependency. I incorporated walking in my schedule. I would get up in the mornings, I would walk. I don't exercise a lot, but I enjoy walking. So I would walk, I listen to music, and I started to really read the word from the Bible. And Jeremiah 29, verse 11, became my favorite Bible verse. For I know the plans I have for you, said the Lord. Plans to prosper you, plans to prosper you, plans to give you hope and a future. And when I step back and really think about those words in that verse, plans to give you hope. Anxiety could go a whole different way because sometimes there's anxiety and then it comes with depression and other things. But the word said that the Lord plan has a plan for my life, and it's a plan that will give me hope. So I have to find something to cling on to that will give me hope. And for sure, he had something for my future. And I had to hold on to that verse and believe it. And I had to repeat it over and over and over again. And in the midst of anxiety and COVID, my cousins and I actually decided that we would start morning worship so that as a family, we could all worship together no matter where we were in the world. So we gathered in the mornings 5 days per week, Monday to Friday. We sing, we pray, we encourage, and go word. The Lord has a plan for my life. challenges came along, we could all worship together no matter where we were in the world for my life. More challenges came along. Worst challenge, we prayed, we worshiped, and we encouraged each other. And I never let go of that word. The Lord has a plan for my life. More challenges came along. Worse challenges came along than when I even first was diagnosed with anxiety. But again, I had to figure out how to deal with that. And I felt like from the very onset, God was preparing me for what else was going to come along, because after that, some challenges came my way that I never expected. In my wildest dreams, I never expected that I would cross those rivers. But I think that day, from the head of our department, triggered me to that day that I had to run to the emergency room. Those 2 days were just the preparation to help me to get to the other side of the river when the trials, the tribulations, and the challenges would come upon me. I have lots of testimony now just talking about it, right? Have lots of testimony as I went through those challenging moments.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing with us your testimony. I just want to say before we go to break, um, that I just believe that God gives us a testimony not just as a way to help ourselves, but it is to help others. And so I'm praying, and it is my prayer that today, that those who are watching, those who are listening, that your testimony and the conversation that is to follow will help them and will help somebody in their faith. But we'll be right back. We're gonna break for a moment, go to commercial, and we'll be right back with our guests. What's up, everybody? It's Jamon. While you're waiting, can you do me a favor? Hey, hit that like button, hit the share button, share it with everyone you know, but most importantly, can you share it with someone that you think might be suffering in silence with disappointment? I know firsthand that disappointment affects all of us at some point in our lives. And so I promise you that this series is one for you and you don't want to miss it. The conversations that we have are going to be ones that you're going to want to tune in for. And so please like, share, subscribe, but stay tuned because there's so much more in store. Now let's get back to it. Welcome back to disappointment, setbacks to comeback. Look, we are off to a great start. We have Miss Janet, who is with us, who has shared her testimony, and now is a time where we're actually going to get a little deeper. I have some questions for you. I have some things that I really want to ask you and to talk about on this subject matter. You mentioned a lot about anxiety and what you felt going through this situation or this dark moment in your life. And so the first question that I have for you, to those that are watching, um, anxiety can often bring a sense of personal failure. It can make you feel like that there's something wrong with you or you failed in an area. So someone who is a boss, someone who is a mother, someone who is doing all of the things that you are doing, uh, in what way in your life did your anxiety or did this situation make you feel like you were a failure?
Oh boy. So I tell you this, the first thing I started feeling, how dare I, right? How dare I? I would consider myself a strong person. And I tell you, after those episodes, I don't want anyone to tell me, oh, you're a strong black woman. Because a lot of times we are hiding, we are masking, we are going through so much and we don't share. Right. And then folks
Hmm.
look at us as being strong. So that was the first thing. I'm like, how dare I fail myself in such manner, right? But then there are others that rely on me. There are others that depend on me. I have a young child, and that day when I had to leave and go to the ER, I don't even remember leaving the house and saying bye to her, etc.
Wow.
Because she always feels like, I have to go with mommy. I have to go with mommy.
Yeah.
And I could not, I just had to go. I had to focus on me for that moment.
Mm.
And there's a part that started to, it felt like I was failing her. I was failing my family.
Yeah.
My older daughter, Mom, I'll go with you. I'll take you. No. And she could not understand why mommy wasn't telling me what's going on. I
Mm.
also have a job that I had to go back. This day when I went to the ER, it was on the weekend. I have to get up Monday morning and go back to work. And guess what? I have to go and stand strong, right? I
Yes.
have to go and stand tall and continue like nothing happened to me on the weekend. And at that moment, right, there's something inside your mind telling you you're a complete failure.
Mm.
How you're a failure. You're a failure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and just so that people can know, like that young daughter, just wanted to plug her real quick is Gabby, who by all means is an amazing young lady, and so and I know the love that you have for her, so I can understand how, in that moment, you feel like you're letting her down, and especially as a mother, and I think I want to hone in on that, right? Because I think anxiety, disappointments, failure, whatever we want to call it, I think that it has a way of duping us to believe that we're something that we're not, right?
Yes.
And so, when we're going through those seasons and depression and anxiety set in, I think oftentimes we wear labels,
Hmm.
or we allow our situations to put labels on us that don't accurately reflect who we are as people. And I just wanted to just say that because I think that there's somebody who's watching, who needs to know, who's going through depression, going through anxiety, going through disappointment. Like, you really need to know that your anxiety, your depression, your failures, your whatever, it does not define who you are. And it doesn't mean that just because you're depressed, you're going through anxiety, that you're a failure. I think that it is a lie that not only it causes us, but I think that is also a lie that the devil, as Christians, we believe, wants us to believe, because
Yeah.
he doesn't want to see us achieve the full potential, or want us to do the things that he knows that God has called us to do. And so you talked about like this weight of just being a mom, um being a mom, being, having to work full time, and doing all of these other things. As somebody who knows you, I know that there's a lot of other things that you have to do, and things that you have to care for. A lot of times you're dealing with things that are unexpected, that you didn't
Mhm.
expect to happen, whether it's, car accidents, or whatever. And it just seems like you're the one that's carrying the weight of that. And so when anxiety, you talked about going to the hospital, um and if I heard this correct, it was the receptionist who told you that based on your symptoms that you had COVID.
Yes.
Uh, um which is so funny to me because you knew that no matter what she was telling you was a lie, because as you said, you know your body, you knew something was wrong, you knew that something just wasn't right. Can you, for a minute, before we even go into the next question, can you, because, and the reason why I'm asking you to talk about this is because there is somebody that's probably listening, that's probably feeling the same symptoms, or probably dealing with some of the same signs. Can you tell us, like, what those signs or those symptoms look like to you that made you say, and I know you spoke a little bit about it before, but can you really go into that and tell us what was it that you really felt that really made you pause and say, no, I got to go to the emergency room, that I got to go, like,
Sure.
something is not right with me?
Yes, yes. So the first thing was that morning. It literally felt like I was at the end of the road.
Mm,
It felt as if I did not want to go on any further.
yeah.
I'll tell you something, in all honesty, right? I started my career working in life with life insurance.
Hmm.
And I've always heard it's so sad when folks call in, after they lose their loved one, and we have to
Hmm.
tell them that, oh no, your benefits don't, won't convey because of X reason.
Hmm.
Right? That is my first thing. And then because I know God, I know that no matter what is happening and how I'm feeling, I have got to work my way through this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those thoughts that morning were real.
Mm,
And then I lay in bed all day. But as I lay there, my body was uneasy.
mm,
I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sit still. My mind seemed like it was racing at 1,000 miles a minute, just racing, racing. And I said, this can't be good. Why is my mind racing like this? I couldn't settle myself down.
yeah.
And then the headache, of course, because your mind is so busy, you're getting a headache, right?
Yeah.
And those are the feelings that I had.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think that it's important to address that because I think that in order be to get to, the series, we're calling it from setback to comeback, you know. And I think in order to come back, we have to first recognize that there's even a problem,
Yes,
that something is wrong, that something is not right. And understanding and recognizing that, but knowing that it's not necessarily that something is wrong with me,
right.
but maybe the situations that I'm in, maybe the
Mhm,
circumstances of just not being able to pay bills, or not having a job, or
mhm,
having the weight of life, or going to school and having to study and working while you're having to go to school, and all of these other things, or working a job. And one of the things that I hear a lot is, you're applying for jobs that you know that you're qualified for, and you either never hear back from them, or they tell you that you're overqualified, which, I'm not going to go into that, but that always just seemed
yes,
to amaze me, that you wouldn't want somebody that is overqualified. But all of these things can cause, whether it's failures in relationships, and marriages not going right, and somebody broke your heart.
yep,
But we have to be able to recognize that something is wrong, something is not right, and addressing that. And so, with that being said, when anxiety had you in a dark place, I guess what I really want to know is, did you ever feel disappointed with God? And this is a common question that, to the viewers, you'll notice that throughout um, every single part, I'm going to kind of ask every guest, because I really want to know this. When you were in that dark space in your anxiety, did you ever feel like you were disappointed with God? And were there moments where you question, not only why would he allow this to you, uh happen to you, but if he was even going to show up on your behalf.
Yeah. So you've heard the saying, God give his hardest battles to his strongest soldiers, right? And
Yeah.
I remember saying, Lord, I'm not that strong. I don't need this hard battle, right? I don't necessarily know if I was so much disappointed with God as much as I needed him to hold me, to take care of me,
Yeah.
to take me through, right? I couldn't figure out what was going on, right?
Hmm.
As you're in it, you're not sure what's happening. And as I share, it got worse only because additional challenges came
Hmm.
upon me. So I had to really call upon him. And as I was praying one day, I said to him, "Now, God, I know sometimes you show us signs, right? And we
Hmm.
ought to see them." I said, "I'm one of your children that I don't read those signs very well. So you got to be clear with me. If you need me to do something, you've got to tell me what you need me to do, right?" So
Hmm.
I was disappointed, but I wasn't mad with him. I think at
Hmm.
first I was more mad at myself. And here is the thing that really makes you anxious is that the small voice in your head is talking to you. You're not good enough. You didn't do this right. Look at you. You're not worthy. You're not
Yeah.
deserving.
Yeah.
That small voice talks to you. And then so I'm calling up on God to help me, but at the same time too, I'm trying to figure out, how do I shut this voice off? I've got to shut it off.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
yeah, I don't understand this conversation you're having with me. I know I'm a child of a king. I know I'm royalty. And I actually had to get to that place where I will say I am royalty. My father is a king,
Yeah.
to try and shut all that off.
So you said something, and it's so interesting because it goes into the question that I was about to ask you anyway. But when you look at this feeling of just sometimes feeling unworthy, feeling unseen, feeling even unloved, um, to the person that's watching, to the single mom, to the mother who's is married but taking care of her home and working a job while trying to take care of the kids and juggling excuse me, all of these different things, to the average person who doesn't go to church, the person that doesn't believe in God, to the person who goes to church consistently, um but somehow, some way, in their situations, in their disappointments, they feel unseen, they feel unheard, they feel unworthy, they don't feel loved, and sometimes they don't feel it by God. What is it that you can say to them that will encourage them to keep the hope and let them know that all of those things, all of those negative labels that they think about themselves, is not actually true?
Yes. So fall in love with yourself, just a little. If you start just a little, right? Look in the mirror. Look in the mirror. And sometimes you look in the mirror, you don't like who you see. You don't like who you see. But
Mhm.
use that moment to say, then how do I become the person that I want to be?
Yeah, yeah.
How do I? And just take it one step at a time. Dealing with anxiety, right? It's not about moving the mountain all at once.
Hmm.
It's bite size,
Yeah.
little by little. I remember, and this now is going to the audience so you can really see where I'm coming from. I remember one day I was talking to a friend and I said, "Oh, I took the baby to school in my robe," right? And she listened and she didn't say much. And then I got a call and she said, "Meet me at my house tomorrow." And when I got to her house, I saw another friend in the parking lot. And I still didn't think much of it. The friend was outside, not inside. So I didn't think much of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got inside and they both had an intervention and said, look, no more going outside your house in the robe. No, that can never happen again.
Yeah.
Never.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I have to look in the mirror. I had to look in the mirror. And I didn't like what I see. And because I didn't like what I see, I had to take action.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying to that person who is feeling unloved, unwanted, feel like a failure, take one look in the mirror. Just a look. And for the first time, you may not like who you see. That's okay. That's okay. Look again
Mm.
and
Yeah.
think about what you want to look like going forward. I literally have a picture of probably 10, 12 years ago that whenever I really feel down, I look at that picture.
Mm.
Also, is when I was at my happiest, when I was at my peak, right? And I'm like, I want to be the happy person again. I want to laugh, right? I want to smile. And just looking at that picture helps me. And then do not, you may not be a Christian, but here is the thing. When you talk to God, He's not repeating your problem to the next person.
Mm.
It's between you and Him. And you
Yeah.
have to get real with Him. You have to talk to Him. Like I told you, I said, God, I'm not one of those people that you can give me signs and wonders and I always read through them. You got to be clear to me. If you
Mm-hmm.
need me to move, you got to tell me because sometimes I miss what you're saying.
Yeah.
So just try, talk to God. It's okay to just say Jesus. It's okay to just say help me.
Yeah.
Help me. That's it.
Yeah. How did it affect your marriage or your relationship with the kids?
So, for one, everybody wants your attention.
Hmm.
And then when you are focusing on you, sometimes it seems like you're selfish. So I really don't think anyone fully understood that I had to take care of me.
Hmm.
You know, even the little one would want to go to the park. I couldn't even go to the park.
Yeah.
It's summertime. You want to go to the park. I can't go to the park.
Yeah.
The older one wants to talk. I don't want to talk. Right?
Yes.
My husband, what's wrong? I don't know. I can't tell you. You're supposed to figure out what's wrong, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it impacted everyone.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is it has a way of making you feel like a walking zombie. You
Yes.
know, like you know what's wrong in a way, but it's like an infant, right? It's
Yeah.
it's like you know it's wrong, but you can't communicate exactly what's wrong. Like literally like a child, a baby, they cry. That cry can either mean that they're hungry, it can mean that, you know, their diaper needs to be changed. It can mean a number of things. But as a parent, you kind of learn what
Right.
each cry means. And what's so beautiful about this is that I think that God treats us the same way in a way. It's like we don't know how to communicate that. We don't know if we can communicate it. We just know that something is wrong. We're not ourselves. Something doesn't seem right. But God is like, no, I know what this is. Like, I know
Right.
what that cry is. And oftentimes, I think that God is, He has a way of using these things as a way not only to point to Him, but He uses it as a way to get our attention, and sometimes he uses it as a way to build us,
Mhm.
because there are things that we don't see that's coming down the line that God is like, no, like you not ready for that.
Yeah.
You can't walk through that door until I really start to like mold and shape these areas of your life. And so, do you feel like in that season, can you honestly say, because there's somebody who's watching that don't believe that God is there, that don't believe that God cares, that they're dealing with these bouts of depression, these bouts of anxiety, that they don't believe that God cares, that they're crying at night, they're falling asleep crying. uh do you honestly believe, and did you honestly believe, like, god is that God had something greater in store, that he was orchestrating it, or do you believe that he caused it?
So I think my belief was that he has something greater for me, right?
Mhm.
Even though what I'm gonna say, right? One may say, how could you say that? But after going through that bout, I knew he was setting me up for what was ahead, because something came that hit me like a ton of bricks,
Mhm.
right? That I was not expecting. But
Mm.
now I was more prepared, I think.
Mhm.
Even though I would say nothing could have prepared me for the next phase of my life, right? But because I had already gone through what I went through with the anxiety, I was able to help myself more, right? Go through.
Right.
And yes, there are times it will seem like God doesn't care. God, I'm your child. How do you allow this to happen to me? Right? But I have a plan for you. Remember, I told you I have a plan for you? Yes, Lord, but this is your plan, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes that's the conversation. Have they with God, this is really your plan?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But you don't realize what he's doing until he actually takes you through, right? And I remember a friend told me, I was in my 20s when a friend said to me, sometimes God allows things to happen to us to draw us closer
Hmm.
to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for me, I think that could be a part of, my overall struggle, my challenges. He needed me to focus more on him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, who was it? Martha running around doing all the things, right? She wouldn't sit down. That's me. I was always busy. I'm running around. I'm doing this. I'm taking care of this. I'm over here. I'm over there.
Yeah.
And then having to sit down. So I think that going through this, God will take care of you.
Yeah.
He'll take care of you. All
Yeah.
you need is, I used to say, faith as small as a mustard seed. A mustard seed is very, very, very small.
Mm.
And you just have to say, help me.
How how do you move to that place? Like, I heard you say, like, you prayed, you did all these things. So what are some action steps that you can give to those that are watching to today? Like, how do you get from not seeing the light in this dark path, or dark moment in your life, to hope? How do you get there?
Yeah. It's hard, right? I will never tell anyone it's easy. But one of the things that I did was to, I was very cautious about what I allowed to come in my space,
Yes.
right? I attend church service, right? Sometimes I would sit in church and I'm so uneasy, but I was at least there.
Mm.
Online, I attended service online and I
Mhm.
listened to different pastors preach, right? And sometimes I would just search for that topic that I need to hear. I
Yeah.
may just need to say, does God love me? And I go
Mhm.
search for a sermon, does God love me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I kept myself busy with that. I started getting myself busy with a lot of other different things. a board member here, a board member there. I'm involved with this. But that was taking me back to a place where I didn't need to be.
Right.
So I had to start doing self care. And self care, one of the first words I learned to say was no.
Mm.
It was hard for me because I'll say I care for people and I'm a doer, etc. But I
Mm.
had to say no. So I again place myself with people that would speak life, church services, etc. And then I had to start saying no. Can you take me here? No. Can you do this? No. Can you join this? No. I'm sorry, I won't be able to.
Mm.
And some folks, that was meant sometimes from others that would say, but I'm sorry. I had to put me first. It may be only 30 minutes that someone needs me. That's 30 minutes I could sit and think about nothing. I got comfortable relaxing. I would take a day off from work and sit in my house and do nothing. I
Mm.
don't have to go anywhere. I sit and do nothing. The other thing, too, I got used to is I'll sit in my car and do nothing, right? I'm going
Yes.
to the store, and before I go into the supermarket, I just sit in my car 10, 15 minutes and do nothing. Just watch people watch for a minute, car watch for a minute, but that allows me to breathe.
Yeah.
And I'm not feeling that I'm running every minute.
Yes. Yeah, no, I do think that the key that I found myself when I found myself dealing with, some of the, depression or anxiety or whatever, is that I had to change, you know, I had to be intentional about changing my environment.
Mhm.
Like I had to go out and do stuff. That meant, I used to love running. I did cross country. So I rediscovered that love for just running and, running long distance and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I would run along the water, and
Mhm.
just think and pray. I would just make time for me. I ended up, with a membership to Massage Envy,
Okay.
and every month I made sure that I got a massage. So I made
Right.
sure that I made time for me, but I also made time for God. And I think
Mhm.
that many of us, what we do is making time for God isn't just, oh, okay, God, this is what I need, this is what I want. But sometimes setting aside time where you just do nothing. You're not talking,
Right.
you're not listening to music because you want to just receive and hear what he has to say to you. But I also believe you got to find what works for you.
Yep.
One of the things that I heard said before is, which is true, you sometimes have to get help. And there's nothing wrong with talking to someone who has a degree, who
Yep.
specializes in this, who can help navigate you from point A to point B and can put you in a plan that can say, okay, when you find yourself in these moments,
Mhm.
this is what you do. This is what, this is how you respond. And even as Christians, we ought to remember that when we find ourselves in these situations, remember that it's not to be negative, but to
Right.
always respond in a positive light. And again, I am a huge supporter of believing that we as people, we need to go and talk to people. Sometimes we just need
Yes.
to sit there and have somebody who is a professional listen to us. And I'm not saying don't tell people around you stuff, but I also believe you need to caution who you tell stuff to,
Yes.
because
Yes.
people, the Bible makes it clear that words have power. So we
Yes.
have the ability to speak life. People have the ability to speak life or death into us. But check this out. We have the ability to speak life and death in our situation. Like there's
Yes.
life and death in the power of our tongue. So you got to change your
Yes.
vernacular. Everything you got to, instead of saying, oh, whenever I get out of this, or if I get, no, when
No.
I get out of
When.
this,
Yes.
I'm coming out of this.
Yes.
Clinging to the promises that God stated in the scriptures. And even if you're not a believer, that's okay. This isn't
Yep.
just for Christians. You got to set a standard for yourself and you got to speak life into yourself. You can call it whatever you want. You can call it affirmations or whatever, but you got to speak life. When you wake up, you got to say, okay, today is a good day. Today and I just think that those are things that are helpful. So
Yeah. So,
go
oh,
ahead, go ahead.
so you touched on a great part, which I when I tell you, when you talk about speaking to someone professionally, right?
Yeah,
I can go on and on about that.
yeah,
I wear glasses. I go to the eye doctor,
yeah.
right? I go to the dentist. I get my physical annually, right?
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
why is it when we feel that we're troubled or something is going on, we don't want to talk to anyone about it? I'll
Mhm.
tell you this. I got me a therapist. I literally got someone that I spoke to. And we didn't just go and talk about anxiety and deal with anxiety, right? We
Mhm.
spoke. We
Mhm.
spoke, and then she helped me navigate through, well, how could you have handled that, right? And then
Mhm.
it slows me down to think, because a lot of times, and I'm just reflecting back about the first day in that meeting, that anxiety came about because I was being hammered with questions after questions,
Mhm.
right? And I didn't have a minute to slow down. I could have slowed down and said, I'll get back to you.
Mhm.
But my mind told me, here you are in front of senior leaders, you're with the vendors, right? You're with junior staff, you're being peppered with questions. How I needed to answer. And because I felt I needed to
Mhm.
answer, that was the immediate trigger. That
Yeah.
triggered right away. So, in talking to my therapist, we talk about how do I respond when I'm in those situations? And I'll tell you this, religiously, every 2 weeks, I would go talk to my person.
Mm.
I remember one day we had a session, and really, she just wanted to know, so how are you today? I'm like, I'm fine. And for me, that was just going to be a good day because I was fine. And we started to talk, and she realized that I had so much to pour out, right? So
Mhm.
I would encourage anyone, seek good counsel.
Mm.
Seek good counsel and have those conversations. The other thing, waking up in the mornings is so important what you do when you first get up.
Mm.
I have
Yeah.
moved from, feeling down and sorry for myself to thank you, Jesus. Oh, I opened my eyes this morning. Let me give you thanks. Oh, I was a cold last night. Let me give you thanks for that. I can take a shower. Let me give you thanks. Right? Being thankful. A moment of thankfulness. And I write a lot. So I journal. And it may be something short. On our phones now, we have notes.
Yeah.
Just go into your notes and write down what you're thankful for today. Start off with one thing, just one thing, what you're thankful for. And then each time you increase that. And
Mhm.
before you realize, you are actually changing your situation from being one
Yep.
of anxiety, one of complaint, one that drags you down, depression, to now you feel like you start to get your life back. The other thing too is there's a stigma. When you talk about anxiety, there's a stigma, right? Anxiety, depression, right? Some people
Yep.
don't want to talk about those
Yep.
things.
Yep.
You got to take care of the mind. It's part of the body.
Yep.
You've
Yep.
got to take care of the mind. I tell you, back when I was growing up, I never heard about depression. I never heard about anxiety. It's now that I'm older and I'm like, where was this all along? And
Yeah.
imagine how many of our forefathers
Mhm.
struggled and didn't get the help they needed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not a new concept, but it is something that I feel like so many people in this society now, and I do believe it's based on how the society is now,
Yes.
because of how society is and the weight and the pressures of all of the things surrounding us, that you see a high number of people who are dealing with it. Um, and it's I think it's astonishing.
Yeah.
The verse you said at the beginning was Jeremiah 29:11. I think is a powerful text and one that's good to close out on. The text says simply this to those of you who are watching. It says, "For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you,
Mhm.
plans to give you hope and a future." I think it's safe to say that no matter what you're going through in life, God has um, he has a plan for all of us, you know,
Yes.
and it may not seem like it. It doesn't feel like it at times. Some of us are tired of dealing with
Mhm.
the stuff that we're dealing with. But the truth remains is that he has a plan for us, and it's for a future. And so
Yes.
nothing that we're going through is to harm us. It's not because he's upset with us, he's punishing us.
No.
He's preparing us for what's ahead of us. And so I just want to thank him for that. And I want to thank you and give you just a few, a few moments to whatever you feel impressed to say to those that are watching. Give you a few moments to just say that before we close out.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Again, I could go on and on for hours just talking about this. And I hope this session touches someone today. You may feel alone. You may feel unloved. You may feel that you're not worthy. But that's just the enemy who is playing tricks on your mind and telling you that.
Yep.
You are worthy. You're beautiful. You're wonderfully made. You're fearful and wonderfully made. And I want you, when you feel that hope is lost,
Hmm.
just try something. If it's for your children, hang on for your children.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, hang on for you, for you, for you.
Mm.
You could find me on social media. If you want to talk, I'm here. Sometimes someone just needs a person to listen,
Yep.
not to say anything. I can listen, I can pray, I can encourage. But please do not give up. Better is ahead. I'm telling you, better is ahead.
Mm. Thank you again for taking out the time to be with us, and we look forward. Like I can't wait to have some conversations with you in the future. But we thank you, Ms. Janet, just for being with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome. Take care.
Wow, what an incredible conversation! What a powerful testimony, Ms. Janet. Your wisdom, your honesty, and your faith in the midst of unexpected disappointments has truly been a gift today. If you're one, if I know one thing, I really hope that everyone takes away from this is that when life is falling apart, it doesn't mean God has abandoned you. Disappointment may shake us, but it doesn't have to break us. And as Janet reminded us today, sometimes our greatest pain leads to our greatest purpose. So if you're listening right now and you feel stuck in disappointment, if you're facing anxiety, whatever it is, know this: your story, it ain't over. It ain't over. God is still working even in the places you can't see. Janet, thank you again for sharing your heart with us. And to everyone watching or listening, if this conversation bless you, look, I'm just going to ask you to do a couple of things. I want you to share it with someone who needs encouragement today. Stay strong, stay hopeful, and remember what you feel when you feel like giving up, when you feel like you're at your end, when you feel like you don't know what to do. Understand that this is the beginning of something greater. Until next time, I want you to take care and keep trusting in God's plan. Remember to like, share, subscribe, to jump in. Use the link below. Jump in the comment section. If you have any, if you want to reach out to Miss Janet, you can follow her. Her social media handles will be provided below. So make sure, just tap in, talk to her. She's here for you. If you want to talk to her, if you want to reach out to me, feel free to also find me via social media and some other forms. I would love to talk to you if you feel like this was a blessing to you and you just want to just express that. Please reach out to us if you want. And I must say this, if you want to just have somebody to talk to, listen to you, if you feel like this conversation brought you closer to God, reach out. We want to connect you with a place of worship. We want to get you going on your path of renewal, on your path of getting unstuck. Thank you, man, for tuning in. Look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Peace.